Hello, you're listening to On the Point, the News Collective's weekly news report, formerly known as Democracy Watch, bringing you alternative and undercover current affairs from Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. I'm Zachary Tharp.
I'm Akshay Kulkarni.
I'm Adeline Ping.
I'm Lauren Benson.
I'm Alex Trabulsi.
I'm Maya Prashon.
I'm Joshua Azizi.
I'm Isa Yu. It is Thursday, February 6th at 5:06 p.m. We are broadcasting from UBC's Vancouver campus on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories of the Hunkaminam-speaking Musqueam people. Today's show is very special because it's Fund Drive. Today we have local headlines plus a feature on the Doomsday clock and Vancouver's housing supply debate. But first,
let's talk Fund Drive. Fund Drive is CITR's annual fundraising campaign. This year it starts today and runs until February 14th. That's right, Valentine's Day. And because Fund Drive ends on Valentine's Day, our Fund Drive theme this year is Crush on CITR. If you have a crush on CITR, if you enjoy
We all do.
listening to this weekly local news show and our affiliated podcast, Seeking Office, please think about donating to the station.
You can donate by calling 604-822-8648 or online at citr.ca/donate. That's 604-822-8648. So we want to tell you about some of the amazing prices CITR is offering to those who donate.
So the first one is if you happen to feel the itch to donate $30 or $5 a month, you can receive a custom CITR and Discorder Fund Drive Candy Hearts. Or if you want to upgrade your donation a little bit more, you can go $60 or $10 a month, and you'll get Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Discorder mug. Plus, you'll receive the Candy Hearts from before. If you'd like to donate $101.9 or $15 a month, you can receive a CITR toque plus an on-air song dedication on Valentine's Day. However, we do have a limit of 30. Plus, you'll receive the Candy Hearts and the Discorder mug. And for $175 or $20 a month, you can get the Fishbowl tape, which is basically a recording of our highlights from the past year or so, plus all the gifts from before. If you donate $250 or $25 a month, you can get a framed Discorder magazine of your choice and all the above items. At $500 or $35 a month, you can host a show on CITR 101.9 FM, plus you'll get all the above items. And for $1,000 or $50 a month, you can get a box set of all Pop Alliance compilations and a recognition on our donor wall, as well as all the mini gifts before, as mentioned before. And a special offer: if you donate $30 to the News Collective, you will get a special Vancouver News quiz crossword. We're talking top news stories and fun Van Poly facts, all arranged as a crossword. We will mail it out to you, so, please donate.
Please donate. Go online or 604-822-82. Wait for the number. It's 604 UBC unit, which is, if you have like a phone from 10 years ago, remember that.
604-822-8648.
Thank you so much, Isa.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now we're going to read some local headlines made possible by the generous support of listeners like you, and then move on to some features, starting out with the ride-hailing situation in BC.
So a quick recap is that Uber and Lyft were approved to operate in Metro Vancouver. Both companies only got their business licenses from Vancouver City, nowhere else. Lyft restricted their operations to the city, while Uber chose to service all of Metro Vancouver. The week after the companies started operating can best be described as filled with shenanigans. The Vancouver Taxi Association took them to court. Surrey cracked down on Uber drivers operating in the city, and Uber then took Surrey to court over this crackdown. Today, a judge in the BC Supreme Court struck down the proposed injunction from the Vancouver Taxi Association intended to immediately halt Uber and Lyft operations in Metro Vancouver. There is still another court case calling for a review of the Passenger Transportation Board's approval of Uber and Lyft's entering the BC market. And a quick little discussion section for the very packed room in here is, does the introduction of ride-hailing into BC foreshadow a death of the taxi industry?
I don't know. I don't think so, because it's like they've been here quite a while, and I don't think they'll go away immediately. If anything, like they'd have to try to adapt in some way, right? Like the point of Uber and Lyft is that they're disruptors. They want to disrupt the market. I don't know to what extent that's true. I personally don't like them at all. But I think that like the taxi industry has to adapt, otherwise they know their business is under threat. That's why all of these legal challenges. I don't know whether they'll die off immediately, though. If anything, it might take a while, but I don't think they'll go away yet.
Yeah, I think they can coexist. I've been to other cities, like, for example, Athens, Greece. They had a thing where all the Ubers you ordered were also cabs, so they were able to coexist. And they worked pretty well. They had non-cab Ubers and normal cabs. But I think it can still be worthwhile for both different, organizations, I guess.
It's also kind of worth noting that there are also going to be a lot of people, maybe people who aren't as savvy with technology, who won't know a lot about Uber and who might rely more on taxis and are still going to continue to use taxis because they don't know Uber exists. So there's always going to be a market, or maybe not so much a market, but like a group of people who will still continue to use taxis in the future. It's not like it's not like immediately now that Uber is approved that within a few weeks everyone is just going to solely use Uber, because people have still been using taxis a lot in the past and they might not know much about Uber and how it works. And also, yeah.
So we won't need the totem pole yet. All right. Thanks for your hot takes on the situation. Now over to Akshay with a story about the Wet'suwet'en LNG pipeline protests.
Hello, yeah. So it's a quick story, but it's like a seemingly never-ending saga of these fossil fuel pipelines in British Columbia. This time it's the Coastal GasLink pipeline and the protests from the Wet'suwet'en Nation in northern BC. So 6 people were arrested by the RCMP in a pre-dawn raid today at a Wet'suwet'en protest camp. There have been multiple along the pipeline's proposed route. This was just one of them. So the arrests allegedly happened because so they didn't reach an agreement with the BC government, and the RCMP gave them like court-mandated time to move, and they didn't because it's their land. Why would they? But the RCMP didn't care, and they moved in. And the Wet'suwet'en chiefs have talked about how this isn't just a blow to the Wet'suwet'en Nation, but also to reconciliation in general, because this is another instance of the police stepping in to sort of disrupt Indigenous protests, and it's their land, so I just don't see why. And to sort of add fuel to the fire, Charlie Smith, who we had on the show before, editor of the Georgia State, he had an article today showing that LNG, as it is right now with current market trends, isn't profitable anymore. So like it's $1 billion pipeline, but like what is all the cruelty for, really? So Josh wants to step in, but I was just going to end this with go to #Wet'suwet'enstrong if you want to see some more reaction from today's raid.
You had mentioned Charlie Smith from the Georgia Strait earlier, and I guess full disclosure, I used to intern at the Strait, so he was my former boss. But Charlie actually earlier today published an article that was about how ICBC is changing to a no-fault rate structure, I think the term is. And the lead in that story was, as a potential distraction from what's happening up north with the Wet'suwet'en Nation, Attorney General David Eby announced that ICBC is changing to a no-fault rate structure. And it's like amazing shade. There's a lot of shade going on there. That's all.
Yeah, and now for a story about local marine life. A southern resident orca called L41, or endearingly known as Mega by local biologists, was reported missing at the end of January. Researchers who keep tabs on BC's local orca population recall the whale's sickly and unhealthy condition the last time it was seen and are now fearing the whale is dead. Mega was a prominent member of its pod, fathering at least 14 offspring. However, the disappearance of this whale speaks to a larger story of the fragility of our local waters. While the global orca population is increasing, our local population is close to hitting numbers that have not been this low since 1971. British Columbian marine wildlife is currently facing a number of threats, such as disruption and pollution for boat traffic, contaminated waters, and potentially most pressing, the extremely low salmon population. Washington State Center for Whale Research said that the orca was looking particularly thin the last time he was seen, and that this is likely due to the scarcity of Chinook salmon in the area. BC orcas' diets depend on salmon, and it has been observed that the pods have been changing their routes, likely in search of the fish. Our local orca population is critically endangered, and they need our protection now more than ever. Tune in next week to learn more about the situation and what you can do to help our whales.
And those were our headlines for the week. Now for a quick reminder about OneDrive.
Just going to apologize ahead of time for what my voice is going to be for this. Were you feeling the cold outside? I couldn't, thanks to my wonderfully warm CITR toque, one of the many pieces of merchandise available in the CITR Fund Drive. CITR also offers volunteer opportunities.
Volunteer opportunities? You mean I get to go on the radio?
That's right. Programming at CITR is controlled by those who produce and listen to it. And anyone can become a member of CITR and have access to our studios, training, and airwaves. So if you're listening now, you should know that you can come down to the station and get involved.
And if you want to donate, just call 604-822-8648 or go to citr.ca/donate.
All right. We're going to turn now to our first feature. This is an interview conducted by News Collective reporter Joshua Azizi with Troy Balderson, the Downtown Projects Manager for the Lookout Society. Can you tell us a bit about this piece, Josh?
Sure. So this week it snowed in Vancouver, and in light of the freezing temperatures, the city of Vancouver opened up some extra shelter space for people experiencing homelessness throughout the city. Additional warming shelters and shelter beds were opened up throughout the city, and I thought that it'd be kind of interesting to talk to someone who runs one of these shelter spaces just about how cold weather and snow affects Vancouver's homeless population. So I reached out to the Powell Street Getaway, which is open as an overnight 24/7 warming shelter from February 3rd to 5th, and it's operated by the Lookout Society, which is kind of a nonprofit group in downtown Vancouver. And Troy Balderson, who is their downtown project manager, he was willing to chat with me about this, and so I talked to him a few hours ago today, and yeah, let's take a listen to the interview. Hello?
Hi, is Joshua there, please?
That's me.
Hi, Joshua. It's Troy Balderson, Downtown Projects Manager for Lookout.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being able to take part in this. Can you tell our listeners just a little bit about who you are and what your role is within the Powell Street Getaway?
Yeah, you bet. My name is Troy Balderson. I'm the Downtown Projects Manager. I oversee or manage the Powell Street Getaway with an amazing team. It's a drop-in center that, when it's cold weather, it's open 24 hours, but our usual hours are 9 till 9. We have a meal program, peer program. We've got a supervised consumption site, in-house programming, partnerships, just about anything that we can offer that's gonna help the well-being of our community or our community members. We're gonna try to offer, and if we don't have it, we're gonna try to implement it to the best of our ability. But we're the one-stop shop here in the downtown east side for the folks that are struggling.
And can you just tell me a bit about the shelter services that the Powell Street Getaway was able to provide during this week's spell of cold weather?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it's when the cold wet weather is activated through the City of Vancouver or BC Housing, it has to meet a certain criteria. So it's either heavy rainfall or colder weather. So what we do is we'll open up into a 23-hour service where we're open from 9 until 9 until 7:30 the next morning. And it allows folks to get away from the cold temps. We offer overnight meal service, soup, oatmeal, cookies. We have some fruit on occasion, a warm, safe place to sit down. We don't run mats or beds, but we allow folks to come in. We run more as a warming center where they can come in, sit down, maybe take a load off, have a little nap. or go back out, in and out throughout the evening. But it gives them the opportunity to get out of that cold weather, get a place to get dry. We have clothing service, for those that are soaked so that they can get in some dry clothing. Yeah.
And just a clarification question. Is the Powell Street Getaway usually open 24 hours, or is it just kind of in like extreme cold weather events?
It's only in extreme cold weather events. We're open from 9 till 9 daily for our drop-in and 8 until 11 currently for our consumption sites. So when the cold, wet weather activates, we open up a whole other shift throughout the evening to make sure we have a safe place for folks to go from the community.
And for people experiencing homelessness in Vancouver, like, what are the kinds of specific challenges that they face as a result of, like, snow and cold weather?
I mean, there's quite a few different ones. I mean, it could start with something like frostbite, but I mean, death and tragedy like that does happen. Another one of the real big challenges is that we don't see a whole bunch of snow, but we get cold and we get that rain. So when somebody gets wet, having a dry space and having dry clothing is imperative. When you're soaked in cold, wet clothing for a period of hours to days, you're going to decrease your body temperature where you're going to be susceptible to illness. And not only that, but a lot of the folks that we serve in the community already have marginalized immune systems. So adding, the cold, wet weather with cold clothing, it really sets them up for a real a vast array of illnesses and real troubles.
And, go
yeah.
on.
No, I was just, the cold temps are really what gets the folks, and when you couple that with that wetness and that moisture, there's no ability to dry out. There's no ability to warm up no matter how many layers you're going to put on because you've got that cold base. So having that warm atmosphere with a warm cup of soup and some warm socks even, that can really make the world of difference to our folks that we serve.
Mm-hmm. And how do warming stations such as the Powell Street Getaway and like maybe others in the city, how do they seek to mitigate these problems?
As far as the cold, wet weather and the dampness, we have a donation-based supply here at Powell Street. So we will pull clothing for folks that have wet clothing, and then when the laundries open up the next day, we're going to dry their clothing. And we're open, so anybody that is can travel here by foot, by cab, by bus, whatever you need to do to get here, we're going to give you a warm place to stay, warm place to hang out, a little bit of community. We're going to watch some movies, and just give you a place to be safe, where you know that you're not going to be bothered, and you don't have to worry about your stuff going missing, and, so on and so forth.
Hey there, my name's Adeline Peng. Sorry to interrupt this excellent piece of news, but before we hear the rest, we need to remind you once more about
Fun
Fun Drive.
Oh, God. Hi, I'm Akshay Kulkarni, and I'm a member of the News Collective. And the thing is, in order for us, the mighty News Collective, to continue making great radio news reports like the one you're listening to, we need your support. So I'm in J School on campus, the Masters of Journalism program. It's really the only journalism education on campus at all. And, the News Collective and CITR allowed me to get stuck in, report local news, and help me apply the theory I learned and just express myself, which is amazing. The crew here is absolutely amazing. CITR is it's been a place for me to explore my storytelling, but also just an amazing place to hang out on campus. And the News Collective people just make it worthwhile. So, not too many places in this city even allow you to get on FM this easily, and it's criminal that more people aren't involved. We have to keep this going. So please donate if you care about giving independent journalism a chance and keeping an amazing community radio station on air.
Also, for a $30 donation to the CITR News Collective, you will receive our special Vancouver News crossword puzzle. And this is a hot item for you Vancouver News nerds. Get it by going to citr.ca/donate or calling 604-822-8648. And also, at this time, I would like to share about my time at CITR. So to give our listeners an idea of the types of opportunities the radio station offers and the importance of community radio, so this is my experience. In the summer of 2018 was when I first joined the station, and though I'd done some audio production before, I hadn't experienced what it would be like to produce pieces for radio. Luckily, this station provides an accessible experience so our members can transition into the radio world. As a beginner, I had the opportunity to develop recording, editing, interviewing, and other audio production skills that I wouldn't have otherwise. And so, when I joined the News Collective in particular, I discovered that the hands-on opportunities allowed me to develop journalistic skills and the confidence to produce audio pieces on a variety of subjects. So some memorable moments in this collective have included a piece for Sea Otter Awareness Week that featured a biologist from the Vancouver Aquarium, interviewing a local politician on air before the 2018 Vancouver municipal election, and contributing to coverage of the otter versus koi survival of the fittest showdown at Sun Yat-sen Garden. And now back to our story.
And I know that as you were saying earlier, in the past few days, that the Powell Street Getaway has been open for 24 hours from February 3rd to 5th as like an extra warming shelter space. Can you just tell me a bit about how those nights at the shelter went?
They went amazing, and actually, we've actually been open 38 days this year. Mm-hmm. Last night was our 38th day open, so we have struggles depending on the cold weather, getting folks, a lot of folks that'll come in, anywhere from 100 to 200 people will use our resource per night. So, with all that added people, we've got staffing, a model that matches to ensure that we have ample staff. So we really never know the amount of people we're going to have in, so we just try to staff to make sure we're going to get the worst case scenario. And what I mean by that is a real large amount of people. If we're seeing 150 people compared to 100 the night before, that's 50 extra people that need to be supported, so we need that extra staffing.
Mm-hmm. And what challenges does the Powell Street shelter face when trying to provide services for Vancouver's homeless population during cold weather?
Yeah, so I mean, there's sector-wide staffing shortages with everybody in our sector due to everything that's happening. I mean, some of the challenges were not enough space for all the different areas in the city. So the City of Vancouver and the BC Housing, partnered in partnership with Lookout, has done an amazing job this year to make sure that we've got extra space available. So we've been opening warming centers and emergency weather response sites more this year than we have in previous years, which has been a huge benefit to the community as a whole, and I mean the entire Lower Mainland. Another one of the barriers is, the extended activations. It does cause some stress on the staffing model. It does cause stress on the individuals we serve, when it's cold for a long period of time. Not everybody in the community enjoys being inside. There's some folks that would just rather be outside, and those are the ones that, you really want to gravitate to. And that's where our outreach teams are going to go out to the community, and they're going to talk to these folks and let them know that we're open. And during the cold, wet weather, when they're feeling cold and wet, they're more than welcome to come on in and bring their cart and bring their animals and have a safe place to be warm.
You're saying that some of the people that the Powell Street Getaway takes in, they would prefer to be outside?
There's lots of folks, and I hesitate to use the words lots, but there's a select number of folks that prefer to stay outside rather than being in shelters or residential housing due to different issues that may have affected them in the past. So we really want to reach those folks and have them come in, even if it's for a night or two, just so that they can kind of get a refresh, a little bit of sleep, and not have to worry about being cold, wet, right? Mm-hmm. But there is people in the community that would rather stay outside than use the shelters and the residential housing provided right now.
I'm just kind of curious about that. Why do they kind of prefer? Why would some of them prefer to stay outside in the cold?
Well, it's personal preference. I mean, we have a community that has been through many, many, many different things. So, there may have had bad experiences in shelters previously. We have a lot of shelters in the Lower Mainland, and they may have had bad experience or maybe personal preference. They may be a little bit introverted, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not going to want to come out where they have to talk to people and they have to interact with folks. They're more content to be on their own, self-sufficient, surviving, and with very little support from us. But we try to support as much as we can when we can.
And another issue that I wanted to ask about was kind of the amount of shelter space within the city at the moment. I guess kind of based on your own observations, how would you describe like the current level of shelter space in the city right at the moment, I guess?
Well, without the cold, wet weather, I mean, there's always room for more shelters. But there's also a lot more, as we all know, we're in a housing crisis. So the more affordable housing that is offered, the more these folks from our community that we're going to be able to get into secure housing, which is going to minimize the need for open shelter beds and so on and so forth in the future. This year, amazingly, like I mentioned earlier, the City of Vancouver and BC Housing in partnership with Lookout have opened up a number of extra warming centers, emergency weather responses. I believe we have 8 in our society now. So that's really huge, is to be able to offer that moment or that additional services in inclement weather, and have the ability to partner with organizations that can offer these through sites that are already established. It's huge. I mean, we operated as a warming center here at Powell Street Getaway last year. This year we follow the emergency weather response criteria. So we're open a little bit more than we were last year because the criteria is a little bit different. And with that additional openings, we're able to reach more folks. With the extended openings, word of mouth travels. So the first night of an extended opening, we may see 80 to 100 people, and anywhere from day 5 to day 10, and then on further, we're going to see more and more folks because word of mouth advertising, they're going to know we're open, and they're going to come and they're going to gravitate to us and make sure that we're able to support them.
Mm-hmm. Since the Powell Street Getaway is only open 24 hours on select days when it's like extreme cold weather services. Do you, I guess, from your perspective, do you sometimes wish that it would be able to be open 24 hours more often? Because I know it's not extreme like cold weather right now, but it is still relatively cold out.
No, yes, absolutely. I mean, in a perfect world, yes, 24-hour services would be great. There's not a lot of them out there. But then it comes down to staffing and funding and so on and so forth. I mean, the approach that BC Housing and the City of Vancouver has implemented has been great. They've really tried to make sure that we're able to open more and more as needed. I mean, I'd like to see that. I mean, the more services we can offer to the community, the better the community well-being is.
Mm-hmm. And only one last question I had, kind of a basic one, but what else do you think needs to be done when it comes to providing shelter for people living on the street?
I mean, options. Options are key. They've got to have the ability to get food during the night. They've got to have the ability to change their clothing if possible, out of wet, dry clothing. So, I mean, everything that I could think of, we are trying to implement, and I know they're trying to implement across the sector. So if a gap is found, we try to find a way to fill that because that's a service that's needed, and we want to be able to offer as many services as we can to the community to ensure that their well-being is upkept.
All right, thanks for listening. Right now you're hearing On the Point by the News Collective at CITR 101.9 FM. This is our special fund drive show, and we'll be back with more local news after this short ad break.
Fund Drive 2020, CITR's annual fundraiser extravaganza, is happening right now. This year's theme is Crush on CITR. And since we deal primarily in sound around here, we started wondering, what does a crush sound like?
Ding. Hey, do you want to make out?
It's like that filter on Instagram. It's like da-da-da.
Well, as great as those answers were, we're kind of hoping this year a crush sounds a bit more like... Because your donations are what allow us to do, well, almost everything. Hosting free radio and podcast trainings, publishing the amazing Discorder magazine, producing local independent news, promoting and playing local music, and so much more. Our fund drive goal is to reach $30,000 by February 14th. You can show your crush on CITR right now by visiting citr.ca/donate.
One thing that makes CITR such a special place is that we've been hosting a Canadian music icon on our airwaves for over 3 decades. So we called another Vancouver 101 radio station to see if they also host him.
Good afternoon, Rock 101.
Hi, is it your station that has the show with that guy? It's that really like kooky guy. He wears like the Scottish hat. He's like pretty famous. I think he's interviewed like Nirvana and Drake and Jean Chrétien and Jagmeet Singh, and you know who I'm talking about?
No, not that I'm aware of.
He's got like that catchphrase. It's like do do do. Nardwar, that's it. Nardwar. Do you have Nardwar?
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay. What do you know what station he is at?
Let me see. Let's see. CITR. What station is that?
Oh, that's 101.9 FM. CITR.
Yeah, 101.9.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks so much for your help. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's right, only CITR 101.9 FM has Nardwar the Human Serviette, which should be reason enough to donate during Fund Drive. So visit citr.ca/donate or call 604-822-8648.
Excuse me. Hi, I was wondering how I maybe might potentially get to be on the radio.
Oh, word, yeah, you can do that at CITR and Discorder.
I'm sorry?
You can cover events and issues in the city and interview people, or you could join a collective and work with people with similar interests to make a show collaboratively. Maybe make a few friends.
Oh, wow, that sounds superb.
Totally. Just email volunteer@citr.ca and they can help you get started or just come into the station whenever.
Oh, I definitely will. Thank you so much.
And we're back. This is On the Point on CITR 101.9 FM, and it's Fun Drive.
Well, here are some reasons to donate. CITR and Discorder Magazine are voices for the economically, socially, and politically marginalized. We invite everyone to participate in the media. Basically, CITR and Discorder provide a fun and inclusive space for people to meet friends, build radio skills, and for new kids like us. I'm not very new. I'm pretty old now. It provides a space for local alternative news coverage. So again, if you're able to, please consider donating. You can do so by going online to citr.ca/donate or calling 604-822-8648 right now.
Right now.
If you donate, you will receive some truly sick prizes, bro. For $30 or $5 a month, you can receive a custom CITR and Discorder Fun Drive Candy Hearts. For $60 or $10 a month, you can receive a Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Discorder mug, plus those candy hearts. For $101.9 or $15 a month, you can have a CITR toque plus an on-air song dedication on Valentine's Day. However, there are a limit of 30, plus all the gifts from before. For $175 or $20 a month, you can get a fishbowl tape, which is basically our highlight mixtape from the past, previous year, and our amazing gifts as mentioned. And for $250 or $25 a month, you're going to receive a framed cover of any Discorder magazine of your choice and all the above items that I just mentioned. For $500 or $30 a month, you can host your own show on CITR 101.9 FM and get all the amazing gifts like the magazine, fishbowl, the toque, on-air song dedication, the mug, and your very own customized candy hearts. And for $1,000 or $50 a month, you can receive the box set of all Pop Alliance compilations and a recognition on our donor wall, as well as all the many fabulous gifts that I've just mentioned.
Plus, of course, if you donate $30, you will receive a special edition News Collective Van Polly crossword puzzle. Now that is a cool thing. All right, now Zach has a piece of news to share.
Thank you, Isa. Yes, I do have something to share. As many of you know, I like to keep up with protest movements and things involving the world as a whole. One major event that happened a few weeks ago, it was kind of overlooked to a certain extent, that happened on January 23rd, and I have a little piece to show you guys.
Not now accept our terms, they may expect a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never been seen on this earth. Behind this air attack will follow sea and land forces in such numbers and power as they have not yet seen, and with the fighting skill of which they are already well aware.
With that mighty blast on the New Mexico desert, a new era in civilization has begun, and the doom of Japan is sealed. For this is the first test of the atomic bomb, which was later to wipe out the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
On August 6, 1945, the world became aware of the atomic bomb. In an instant, over 90,000 civilians were killed. Never before in human history had mankind ever been able to achieve this level of destruction. We could now somehow destroy ourselves. With that level of risk with the atomic bomb, a few years later, the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists was created. Their purpose was to equip the public, policymakers, and scientists with the information to reduce man-made threats to our existence. Each year, the Bulletin releases a new time, how close or far we are to midnight, the end of humanity. Previous times include the 1949 time of 3 minutes to midnight when the Soviets tested their first atomic bomb, and 17 minutes to midnight when the Iron Curtain fell. Here's what the Bulletin said on January 23rd of this year.
The Doomsday clock continues to tick forward, requiring us to recalibrate both our clock and the urgency we bring to today's challenges. As far as the Bulletin and the Doomsday clock is concerned, the world has entered into a realm of a 2-minute warning, a period when danger is high and the margin for error is low. To move the clock closer to midnight moves us into a period that requires newfound vigilance and focus from leaders and citizens alike, as if every second matters. The moment demands attention and new creative responses if decision makers continue to fail to act, pretending that being inside the 2 minutes is no more urgent than the preceding period. Citizens around the world should rightfully echo the words of climate activist Greta Thunberg and ask, how dare you? With this in mind, I'd like to now ask Jerry Brown, Mary Robinson, and Ban Ki-moon to approach the clock to reveal the 2020 time. Today, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists moves the hands of the Doomsday clock. It is 100 seconds to midnight.
The main reasons that the Bulletin had moved the time up to 100 seconds was, and quote, humanity continues to face two simultaneous existential dangers, nuclear war and climate change.
My solemn duty to protect America and its citizens. The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
I am here to say our house is on fire. According to the IPCC, we are less than 12 years away from not being able to undo our mistakes.
Now to the historic fires devastating Australia. Some 130 fires are burning right now, scorching more than 14 million acres of land. At least 25 people have been killed and more than 2,000 homes destroyed.
For the nuclear aspect of the bulletin's updated time, they said international leaders have ended or undermined several major arms control treaties and negotiations during the last year, creating an environment conducive to a renewed nuclear arms race or lowered barriers to nuclear war.
In a major escalation in tensions between the U.S. and Iran, the top Iranian general has been killed in an airstrike while leaving the Baghdad airport. The Pentagon confirmed the U.S. military carried out the attack. Qasem Soleimani was one of the most powerful figures in the Middle East and had been the top military man in Iran for more than 20 years. This attack comes after Iranian-backed groups breached the U.S. embassy in Baghdad just 2 days ago.
If you're like me, you'd be a little unnerved, and that's completely understandable. These events are not to be taken with a grain of salt. However, the purpose of the bulletin isn't to scare you, but to inform you of how the world is going. Humanity can change, but change starts at the micro level. To quote one of my favorite books, Cloud Atlas, one might think that their own actions might be just one drop in a limitless ocean, but I would answer, what is any ocean but a multitude of drops? The good news about this clock compared to most is that this one can be turned back. In the follow-up to this piece, I aim to meet with Extinction Rebellion yet again and find out ways that we can all help turn back the clock and make the world a better place. My name is Zachary Tharp, and this piece was recorded with CITR 101.9 FM at the UBC Vancouver campus on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories of the Hunkaminam-speaking Musqueam people.
Thank you for that piece, Zach, and thanks to our dear listeners for tuning in to On the Point, CITR's alternative weekly news program. You've been listening to the Fund Drive Kickoff edition of our show. Again, if you want to donate, please go to citr.ca/donate or call 604-822-8648. That's 604-822-8648. Plus, we have a super fun kickoff show happening tonight.
That's right. Come out to the Hatch Art Gallery tonight, located in the Nest in UBC's Point Grey campus from 6:30 to 11:30, and to hear great local bands like The Neighbors, Bella Ross's, did I say that right?
I think so.
Yeah. Pacific City Limits and Robbie Peterson. Again, that's all happening tonight right after this show at the Hatch Art Gallery on UBC's campus. It'll be a fun night of tunes to launch us into the Fun Drive season.
And again, we just gotta say, CITR and Discorder are both really important to us. If you can spare some change, you'll be helping to provide students and community members with free broadcasting training and monthly workshops. Honestly, lots of people involved in the News Collective and in other ways at the station have gone on to careers in news, broadcasting, and media production. I mean, think about Nerdwart or Sam Fenn or Gordon Katic. Who now run Crackdown, or I'm gonna have trouble. Rohit,
yes,
Joseph, who is a CBC superstar now, and let's be honest, we are probably all going to be famous too. So if you can, please donate by going to citr.ca/donate or calling 604-822-8684.
And just to add to that, the variety of programs that are available here on CITR. And I consider myself a huge radio listener, like even before I came to CITR. But since I've come here, I've also discovered some very interesting programs here that I wouldn't have been able to access if I were listening to just mainstream radio. So that's also another reason community radio is really important.
And if you want to get a lot of radio journalism experience, somewhere like the News Collective at CITR, which is who you're listening to right now, it's a really good place to like learn how to start making radio, learning things like audio editing, the boards for being on the air and such, learning how to like put a piece together. It's great. It's great practice. In fact, it's not great practice. It's great radio.
I mean, yeah,
it is.
No, I started a few months ago, maybe like 6 months at this point. I kind of stumbled in here. I saw a bunch of cool records, you know. I like the old timey stuff, and excuse me, hipster. And it just really caught my eye, and I just like, I'll do a tour and everything. And look at me now, I'm the head of the News Collective.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Don't tell Alex, our loving mentor. Anyone else have any comments? You guys want to?
You want to jump in? Okay, that's fine. If not, so that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been On the Point by CITR News. We're here bringing every Thursday at 5 p.m. bringing you local news. Oh, Josh has something to say.
Please donate.
Yes. Please donate. If he doesn't get you to, who will?
See, I have a confession to make. I have a huge crush on CITR. Just a huge crush on CITR, and I just want them to get donations. This crush needs to be satisfied.
Right, so please give us money.
Yes, money, please. And the way you can do that, obviously stay tuned for more programming, but the way you can do that is to go to 604-822-8684 or citr.ca/donate. So, it means a lot to all of us. So just please donate. We all have crushes and everything. So thank you so much for listening. Up next is Unceded Airwaves by the Indigenous Collective. They have great stuff. Keep listening. Thank you so much.